Hi, this is Dr. Bharadwaz. I am CEO and Chief Doctor at Fidicus Homeopathy. Today we will discuss on one of the rare diseases and also deadly disease that is known as Creutzfeldt Jakob disease or Prion disease. This is so rare that if you take a population of 1 million or 10 lakh people, in that group only one person is going to get this disease every year, and out of 10,000 deaths, only one death is going to happen because of this disease. This is so deadly because every person means 90% of the people will die within 1 year of onset of the symptoms, and rest of the people are going to die within 2 years. And the main reason for death is there is no treatment for this disease in conventional treatment except for homeopathy. In homeopathy you have very good treatment for this. We will look into this disease in depth, and we can look into how homeopathy can help, especially the family members of the disease who is going to get this disease. Normally any infectious disease is due to presence of virus or bacteria or fungi or algae or a unicellular protozoan or multicellular parasite. But in this case it is still a infective disease, but there is no living matter or a living animal that can produce in our body. This is a abnormal protein disease, that is prion protein. You will have an abnormal prion protein in your body, and this prion protein is going to destroy your neurons. There is no genetic material in it, but this can still cause the infection. Normally most of the patients are middle-aged people. It is not that it comes only to the middle-aged people. It can be young age, or it can be the disease of old age as well, but mostly the middle-aged people are going to get this disease. Basically this is a neurodegenerative disease. Your brain and spinal cord are going to degenerate, and this is an infective protein disease. There is a protein which infects and destroys your nerve cells. And coming to the signs and symptoms, even though at the starting of the disease or initial part of the disease there is no specific signs and symptoms, this can be vague, this can be any symptom, but as the disease progresses this can be consolidated to few symptoms. First one is dementia. Dementia means the patient is going to forget where he is going to forget the things that has happened in the past, he is going to forget the things that are happened recently. He forgets everything, he forgets to button his dress, he forgot to sleep, he forgot to wake up, he forgot to eat. So lot of dementia, loss of memory is the hallmark of this disease. And next one is myoclonus. Myoclonus is involuntary jerking movements of the hands. He will jerk his hands involuntarily and the movements are sudden. Next one is extrapyramidal symptoms or pyramidal symptoms. In this you can see the symptoms such as what you see in Parkinson's disease. There will be dancing symptoms, there will be tremors, there will be shuffling gait. Lot of symptoms related to Parkinson's disease can be seen here. And next one is cognitive symptoms. What happens here is he will lose the reasoning for a particular thing. He cannot think properly, he cannot judge, he cannot understand. Lots of cognitive things are hampered in this disease. Next one is behavioral. Lot of behavioral changes can occur, like he can become violent, he can become sad, he can become suspicious, he can become depressed. Lot of behavioral changes can be seen in this disease. Next one is ataxia. Ataxia means loss of balance. Here he is not able to walk properly, he may fall down, or lack of coordination between the movements. If he tries to eat something, he is not able to keep that in his mouth. Lack of balance, or lot of things related to coordination and balance are missing for this patient. Sensory symptoms include visual hallucinations, means he will be visualizing something which is not in front of his eyes, or he can hear some voices, or he can have different taste in his mouth which are not there in his mouth. So lot of sensory symptoms or sensory hallucinations will be present in this disease. Next one is akinetic mutism. In this patient completely loss of speech and cannot speak, his limbs become rigid, so tight, and he goes into coma. Finally the patient dies because of pneumonia. Pneumonia is the reason for final death of this patient within 1 year. And coming to the investigations, first investigation that has to be done is ECG. ECG is the recording of electrical activity of the brain. There are certain ECG findings. With that you can infer that this is Creutzfeldt Jakob disease. Next one is MRI. MRI is also very good. Here what happens is there will be degenerative changes seen in the brain. Next one is tapping of cerebrospinal fluid. This fluid is sent for biomarkers. In that fluid you can see that biomarkers for this disease. And the definite and final test you have to do for this disease, and this is specific for this disease, is RT quick. This is a specific test for this disease. If you perform this test, you can 100% or mostly you can diagnose that this is Creutzfeldt Jakob disease or abnormal prion disease. In order to understand this disease, you have to understand a bit of anatomy and physiology. It is very important for the family members of the patient who is suffering with this disease. First one is you have to understand there are small nodes or small round structures in your body. These are known as lymph nodes. These are especially present on neck and also armpits, and also where there are joint holdings there are lymph nodes. These lymph nodes are specific for immunity. These give immunity. All the immune cells are produced and stored at these specific lymph nodes. Those are present throughout the body. And coming to physiology, the first one you have to understand is prion protein. Prion protein is a type of protein with intracellular protein. So it is present in every cell. Normally every cell contains this prion protein, but the concentration of prion proteins are maximum in brain and spinal cord. In nervous system, these prion proteins are maximum. The main function of this prion protein is to protect the nerves. There are other functions as well, but the main function is to protect the nerves, especially when there is low oxygen levels. These prion proteins act as protection for the nerve cells of the brain and spinal cord. Next one is protein folding. When a DNA is expressed, proteins are formed. Every protein is formed due to expression of DNA or RNA. Once the proteins are formed, these proteins should be folded mechanically in a specific form so that the protein has maximum effect on it. Protein folding is a natural phenomenon and regular phenomenon within the body. Next one you have to understand are dendritic cells. Dendritic cells are the important part of your immune system. These are a part of your WBC. In this WBC, there are agranulocytes. In agranulocytes, you have monocytes. Monocytes, when present in blood, they are called monocytes. When these monocytes migrate to tissue and they will protect the tissue, and then they will call as dendritic cells. These cells play a major role in this disease. Basically, these dendritic cells helps in protection of the human body or protects the human body from the invasion of microorganisms and protects the human body from dangers. Next physiological function you have to understand is microglia. Microglia are the main cells that protect neurons, especially in brain and spinal cord, from foreign organisms or pathogens. These microglia cells are not neurons. These are apart from the neurons. These located close to the neurons, and these microglia cells protect these neurons. Basically, the microglial cells are the protectors for the neurons in central nervous system, both in brain and spinal cord. And coming to the etiology of the disease, etiology means causes. What are causes for the diseases? First important cause is sporadic or idiopathic, means no one knows the reason. So without any reason, these abnormal prion proteins are produced in your body. That is idiopathic or sporadic. Next one is familial or genetic. If there is a mutation that is related to prion protein in your family, the penetrance of this gene is more, and you may inherit this disease from your forefathers or any of your blood relatives. Next one is acquired. Acquired means you are getting this from the outside. First interesting and the rare reasons is cannibalism. Cannibalism means any species, if it eats its own species, it is called cannibalism. For example, we have heard and we have seen in papers or videos or in news that there exists a human tribe that will kill and eat another human beings. That is known as cannibalism. When there is cannibalism in a particular group, and they tend to eat the brain and spinal cord of other human beings, this is one of the reason for this disease. Next one is iatrogenic. Iatrogenic means hospital acquired. When there is a transplant, for example, previously there used to be a dura mater transplant, means there is a layer in the brain that is known as dura mater. When there is brain injury to the normal person, this dura mater is taken from the dead body and it is added to the normal person to protect it. In the same way, there is corneal transplant where you can transplant. This is normally known as eye transplant, in which they transplant the cornea. Even this can infect a normal person. Previously, what used to happen is from the dead bodies they used to extract growth hormone, and this growth hormone is injected to the normal person. Even such practices used to cause prion disease. Next one is surgeon's blades or knife. If surgeon uses blades or knives to operate on the brain or spinal cord of a person and the same instruments are used to other person, this can also transmit the prion disease. And also rare forms are blood transfusions. In some cases where the blood transfusion has occurred, has transfused this abnormal prion proteins into another person. This is iatrogenic. Next one is you can acquire this from animals. So if you eat the brain and spinal cord of the animals having this disease, you can also get infected with this prion proteins. Among this, top one is mad cow disease or spongiform encephalitis. What happens is this is a disease of cattle. If the cattle are infected with this prion protein, and if you eat the brain and spinal cord of that cattle, so you can get this disease. Next one is scrapie disease. Scrapie disease occurs to goat and sheep. If you eat the brain and spinal cord of a goat or sheep that is infected by this scrapie disease, that is suffering with this scrapie disease due to infection of prion proteins, you can get this disease. Third type of disease that occurs in deer, elk or moose, or specific type of disease, this is especially in US, this is chronic muscle wasting disease. If you eat the brain and spinal cord of deer, elk and moose which belong to the family Cervidae, if you eat the brain and spinal cord of these animals, and if these animals are suffering with chronic muscle wasting disease, then you are going to get this prion disease or Creutzfeldt Jakob disease. And coming to the instances, 85% of the diseases are due to sporadic, only 15% of the diseases are due to genetic causes or due to acquired causes. It means by eating the brain and spinal cord of other human being or other animals. It is only 15%. 85% is due to unknown reasons. It happens spontaneously without any reason in some groups of people. Coming to the pathology, the changes you can see in the body of a human being who is affected by this disease is pathology. So here what happens is these are the prion proteins, these are the abnormal prion proteins which can enter into your body, and these can convert normal prion proteins present in your body into abnormal prion proteins. This is the main pathology for this disease. How are these abnormal prion proteins are formed in the body? There are two ways it can form. First one is genetic. There can be some genetic mutations in the gene that is going to produce these prion proteins, and because of that mutation, abnormal prion proteins are produced in a person. Next one is misfolding of the protein. Normally, any protein that is formed immediately forms folds, that is called folding of the protein. These folding has to be done in a specific way for every protein. If there is misfolding or a wrong way of folding of this protein, this also can lead to abnormal protein formation. These are known as abnormal misfolded proteins. Both the abnormal proteins that are formed due to genetic defects or due to abnormal folding of the protein, these can interact with normal prion protein and are capable of converting normal prion protein into abnormal prion protein that causes this disease. These abnormal prion proteins accumulate in the cells or neurons of the human being, especially in brain and spinal cord. When these are accumulated in the brain and spinal cord, the microglial cells think that these are abnormal neurons and kill them. These microglial cells, instead of protecting the neurons, kill the neurons. Over a period of time, all the neurons are killed and your brain is empty without neurons. It becomes sponge. That is the reason we call this as spongiform encephalitis. What happens is every time a new neuron is infected, it will be killed by the microglial cells. From that neuron, abnormal prion proteins are released. These prion proteins go and infect other healthy neurons and convert the prion proteins within that neurons into abnormal prion proteins, and the microglial cells again identify them as abnormal neurons and kill them. In this way, over a period of time, all the neurons in your brain and spinal cord are killed and your brain is left without neurons. It becomes sponge, it becomes empty. That is the reason we call this disease as spongiform encephalitis. So, and what is the mechanism? Once a prion protein enters into your body, these prion proteins are taken up by the dendritic cells. Dendritic cells engulf these prion proteins by the process known as phagocytosis, and there are two major pathways within the dendritic cells to kill these prion proteins. First one is lysosomes. Lysosomes are a part within the dendritic cells that can kill the abnormal proteins. But what happens in this case is these abnormal prion proteins are resistant to lysosomal activities. Even though lysosomes try to kill them by putting some acid onto it, these are resistant to it and these are not killed, and these escape the lysosomal activity. Once these escape the lysosomal activity, these are taken to another pathway or another mechanism that is known as proteasome ubiquitin pathway. This is also a pathway where the abnormal prion proteins are cut or these are made into pieces and they are disabled. Even this pathway is not effective for this Creutzfeldt Jakob disease or for this abnormal prion protein. This abnormal prion protein even escapes this pathway and infect the other prion proteins within the dendritic cell. Dendritic cell is the protector and killer of the microorganisms or the foreign proteins. Even that is completely infected by the abnormal prion proteins, and all the normal prion proteins within the dendritic cell are going to be converted into abnormal prion proteins. These dendritic cells slowly move from one lymph node to another lymph node throughout the body, and finally they enter into the brain by crossing the blood brain barrier. There is a barrier between blood and brain, so it crosses that barrier and enters into the brain cells or the nerve cells. There what happens is these abnormal prion proteins are released into the brain. The neurons present in the brain and spinal cord will uptake the abnormal prion proteins. These prion proteins will again enter into neurons. They convert the normal prion proteins within the neurons into abnormal prion proteins. The microglial cells, which are protector of neurons, think that these are abnormal neurons and kills the neuron. This becomes the cascade. Over a period of time, all the neurons are destroyed and your brain becomes sponge-like organ. That's the reason this is known as spongiform encephalitis. And coming to the conventional treatment, there is no medicine for this disease in the conventional treatment. Conventional treatment means the treatment which you take in a corporate hospital, or the treatment you're going to take with the neurologist or neurosurgeon, any corporate hospital treatment. This is also known as English medicine or Western medicine or allopathic way of treatment. Every person is going to die mostly within 1 year of onset of symptoms, or rest of the people are going to die within 2 years of onset of symptoms. So such deadly is this disease. There is no treatment for this disease. And coming to homeopathy, how homeopathy can help you in treating this disease or handling this disease is very important for you to know, especially to the family members of the patients who are suffering from the Creutzfeldt Jakob disease. Homeopathy has some specific answers. For example, the homeopathic medicines works on a definite principle. For homeopathy, disease is unimportant. The important thing is symptoms. Homeopathy medicines are prescribed based on the symptoms. For example, you can get headache due to simple electrolyte imbalance, or you can get headache due to brain tumor or brain cancer. In homeopathy, whether the headache is due to brain cancer or due to simple electrolyte imbalance is unimportant. The symptoms are important. What type of headache it is. Based on the headache, we will give the medicines so that the disease is completely cured. In the same way, even for this disease, whether it is Creutzfeldt Jakob disease or any other simple disease, there will be set of symptoms. Here, what are the symptoms? First one is dementia. So based on the dementia, we can give the homeopathic medicine to the patient. What type of dementia is it? Is he forgetting old things or is he forgetting new things? Based on that, what type of things he is forgetting? He is forgetting to how to button his dress or something else. Based on the specific symptoms, we can give the medicine. In the same way, myoclonus, how the muscles are twitched. Is it left hand, right hand? Is it when these myoclonus is increasing in hot weather, cold weather? Based on that, we can prescribe some medicine. In the same way, extrapyramidal symptoms or Parkinson symptoms like dancing movements. So what type of dancing movements? When these are aggravated, then these are ameliorated. Based on that, we can prescribe some of the drugs. In the same way, cognitive thinking. So what is he losing? He is losing reason. He is becoming emotional. What exactly happening in his body? Based on that, we can use specific medicines in homeopathy. And also based on the behavior. What is his behavior? So is he becoming suspicious? Is he becoming violent or something else? Is he becoming depressed or is he having suicidal tendencies? Based on that also, we can give some specific medicines in homeopathy. Next one is ataxia. What type of ataxia is it? Is he not able to walk? Is he falling down while walking? Or what type of gait it is? What type of loss of coordination? Based on that, we can give some medicines to the patient as well. And also sensory symptoms. What type of hallucinations? So visual hallucinations or taste hallucinations or touch hallucinations. Is he thinking something is going on his body? Something is crawling on his body. So based on that also, we can give medicines. And also especially in akinetic mutism. So there are specific medicines in akinetic mutism where the limbs become rigid, and when patient crosses these stages and go to pneumonia, even for pneumonia there are excellent medicines in homeopathy. I'm not saying that we can cure this disease completely, but in homeopathy we can try to cure this disease. Even though we may not cure, we can give some relief to the patient. Maybe we can reduce the intensity of the symptoms, we can reduce the frequency of the symptoms, we can postpone the death, or who knows, maybe we can completely cure this disease with homeopathy. So homeopathy is safe, homeopathy is effective, homeopathy is timely. When the medicine has to work, the homeopathic medicines are going to work. So there is nothing wrong in trying this homeopathy because there are no side effects. It will give some relief to the patient, that is well and good. It is not that it just gives relief. Sometimes it may cure, but we don't know because there is no much research. But still, theoretically and practically, homeopathy can help such kind of patients. Yeah, and coming to the precautions, what type of precautions you can take? As I said, 85% of the diseases are due to sporadic or unknown causes. We cannot do anything. For rest of the 15% cases, we can do something. First one is avoid eating brain and spinal cord of other animals. So you are protected from this disease so that abnormal prion proteins will not enter into your body. This can be the first one. Next one is if any one of your family members or blood relatives are suffering from this disease, you can do a special type of genetic test. You can go with in vitro fertilization and you can produce a baby. So this is one of the tests. This is not practically possible, but still you can do it if you are interested. This technology is already available. Next one is iatrogenic. Iatrogenic means hospital acquired. When you go to any hospital for any transfusion or transplant, especially the brain surgeries, the patient has to be tested for abnormal prion proteins. If he has abnormal prion proteins, all the surgical instruments or any other material, live material collected from this patient should be discarded and should not be transplanted to other person. Finally, we are Fidicus Homeopathy. We are a group of homeopathic clinic across the world. We offer you two types of treatments. One is online treatment and in-person treatment. In in-person treatment, you can inquire about your nearest branch available and you can see in person, or you can come to the clinic and take the treatment. And also you can opt for online treatment. In online treatment, we will take the symptoms or complete case either through audio call or video call, and if any investigations are required, you can do the investigations locally and send those investigations electronically to us. Based on that, we will prescribe the medicines and send the medicines to you wherever you are, whether you are in Hyderabad or in India or Telugu speaking states or any other part of the world, even UK, US, Pakistan. We will be able to ship the medicines to your doorsteps. This video is very important for the family members of the people who are suffering with this disease. Try to share with those people if you know anyone, or try to share in your social media, because this disease doesn't have treatment anywhere except in homeopathy. Thank you.